friends and fellow Buffy lovers, and welcome to our podcast, where we discuss each episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer in detail, focusing on digging deep into the themes, metaphors, and foreshadowing. I'm Leah.
I'm Sarah.
I'm Tabby.
And this is Becoming Buffy. Hey guys, and welcome to this week's episode of Becoming Buffy, Passion.
Excellent episode.
I'm so stoked for this episode. This is like the first episode that I thought of when we talked about doing the podcast, where I was like, this is the episode I want to get to.
Well, when we first started, I kept thinking about all the episodes I was really excited for. And I immediately think of all the great ones in season 2 because it's like the closest one. But season 2 is like one of my absolute favorite seasons. So this episode is it's great to watch, heartbreaking, but also just such a phenomenal episode. And it's just, I'm super excited to dig deep into it.
Before we get too far, we actually have a special guest with us this week. We have our brother, David, with us.
How's it going, everyone?
And you're probably wondering at this point how many siblings we actually have.
Because there's 4 of us.
Because don't worry, I'm sure there are more that will pop in every once in a while. But David, do you want to share a little bit about how you came across Buffy and what you think of the show?
So I actually got started watching Buffy because of Sarah.
Yes.
Now I skipped
Excellent
the majority
answer.
of the first season because I was like, wow, this is really cheesy.
A normal viewer, yep.
But then I came back to it later and I watched the entire season, and I'm in the middle of starting a rewatch, and
Good.
I skipped a little bit forward and watched Passion with my siblings. And I'm here to talk about it.
Yeah, which I feel a little bad because I think Passion is kind of a very meaty episode.
Yeah.
And so for someone who hasn't seen the show in a little bit, it's like, oh,
jump right
yes, this episode is very painful. It's got a lot. So
I think this episode is so powerful because a lot of times in supernatural shows and stuff, death is not really considered a big deal.
yeah.
I think I've talked about it a few times, but I just finished Vampire Diaries. I've seen a lot of other supernatural shows, even Doctor Who and other things like that, where death is just something that happens because people are super powerful and sometimes, accidents happen. And so it's not really treated as something that is actually sad.
Doctor Who treats death super seriously.
Yes, and for the most part it does. But
Sometimes.
if you really think about the amount of casualties that happened on that show, it's insane. But overall, with Buffy, I'm always super impressed by the fact that when deaths happen, you really, really, really feel it. And I think that this is the first episode to show that death in this show is treated as a big deal, which it is. But it makes it feel way more realistic because even the way that, and we'll talk about it later, but the way that, she ends up dying isn't necessarily a mystical thing.
Well, the reason why death is such a big deal in Buffy, and I know we've mentioned this a couple times before, but they set up such frigid rules. They're if you break this, it's gonna be a major deal. So that's why it's really intense that Angel's not Angelus. So there's a huge weight to it because it's wow, we've seen Angel as such a great character and we've seen vampires without a soul and how awful they are. So to see Angelus like that is really daunting. But then also to see him kill someone that we really care about is really, really weighty. And we have so many rules in the show that when somebody does die, it's holy crap, and he didn't even drain her. We'll talk about that later. Yeah.
It also shows that Angelus is really not Angel anymore.
Yes.
You might have held out a little bit of hope that Angel's somewhere still in there, but now that Angelus does this, it really removes the fact that Angel is no longer there.
Yeah, and I think that that's a really good point and I will talk about it as we get through the episode, but I think that one of the biggest things I realized in this episode was because there hadn't been any deaths, because there hadn't really been something, with the exception of Jesse in the first season, but that wasn't really a huge
That was
deal.
more for the characters and not so much for us.
Exactly. And so it was you kind of had this feeling of everyone's invincible. And and even the way that Giles handles Angel, the way that Xander handles Angel, everyone except for Buffy is kind of it's not a big deal. He's just, he's just stalking you. He's just being, a vampire without a soul. And I think that this was the first step of showing no, like this is someone who you need to take seriously.
Yeah. Before we get too far, again, we have to put our disclaimer that this is going to be the spoiler-free section. So if you have not seen the rest of Buffy, don't worry about it. We won't spoil anything past this episode. But anyway, all right, you guys ready to jump into it?
Let's do it.
Ready.
Yep.
All right, so Season 2, Episode 17, Passion. Just a few things about this episode. So Josh said, I wrote this episode because no one is safe, death is scary and real, and Angel is not just a little evil, he's truly evil, and Buffy needs to address the situation. So because at this point, a lot of shows put themselves in a hard situation where they have a character who was good go evil, and they're always dancing around the line of how evil do we make them, because they know if they make them truly evil, then there's going to be no redeeming coming or like no coming back from that, no redeeming that character. Audiences won't like them as much. But in this one, they wrote Angel and Angelus really well, because you can go full evil with Angelus because it's a completely different character, even though they're kind of the same. You know what I mean? So I think it was really gutsy of Joss to do that, and I applaud him for it, because it added a sense of just weightiness to the show that it didn't have before.
Yeah, and I think that it's easy to kind of write Angel off and be like, you know, if we wanted to redeem him or something, and just be like, oh, well, he only killed people, you know, that we didn't see, or like, you know. But I think that the fact that Joss Whedon was kind of like gutsy enough to kill someone off, not only someone that we had grown to love since the first season, but also someone who was very, very close to all of the characters. Like, she was a teacher to all of the students. We see her have close interactions with every single like main character at some point in time, even in this episode. But also she is in like a close relationship with Giles, so it's gonna hit home even for him. So the fact that he got rid of a impactful character is a really like ballsy and gutsy move for a writer to do,
and to do it in such an emotionally destructive way. Like the way that Giles finds her body, like you feel so much for him, because you know exactly what he's going to find.
Yeah.
And you know exactly the emotional toil it's going to take for him.
Yeah.
So taking such a beloved character and removing them, but doing it such a harmful way, it's like a double emotional gut punch.
And then knowing that Buffy has to do something about that at the end. I mean, I don't remember how I felt when I first watched this, but I would imagine, like, as this was airing and you were viewing it, being like, oh my gosh, like, what is Buffy gonna do? Like, she can't kill Angelus. Like, what if Angel comes back? Like, there's just like this whole, you know, because it is someone that was so close to Buffy and to the gang that fought beside them in Prophecy Girl and, you know, all these other big battles. It just lends itself to being an incredible villain.
Yeah.
But
we should probably start from like the first scene, just because I feel like we're gonna go through all the points.
I know. The hard thing about this episode is that there's just so much.
Yeah,
there's so much to talk about.
Absolutely.
A couple other things I want to say is it was written by Ty King, but Joss kind of came and took a Sharpie to a lot of what this guy wrote and kind of put in his own stuff and rewrote like Angelus's speech throughout the episode, you know, his little voiceover.
Yes, his monologue.
Yes, a lot of things are rewritten by Joss, and throughout the first few seasons, that happens a ton where Joss goes and does heavy rewriting with things, which makes a lot of sense why the show feels very cohesive. Like, you can tell it's Joss speaking through the tone and the verbiage used.
That'd be so frustrating. Could you imagine like writing a really cool episode and you're like, hey, like Joss, like, look at what I wrote, and he's just like, I'm gonna fix it. And
Yeah,
like, oh, okay.
I am not worthy. This episode was also directed by Michael Gershman. He's the director of photography for the entire show. And this was his directorial debut, not just for the show, but just in general. This is the first time he's ever directed.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, which is, I'm like, wow, that is like an incredible script to get for your first time doing this.
Could you imagine having this on your credentials? Like, someone's like, oh, what work have you done? You're like, oh, well, this was the first thing I did. I hire him on the spot.
Right. But he is really interesting because Buffy was shot on a 14 millimeter camera, or like lens. I don't speak photography or anything that has to do I don't speak photography. I don't speak anything that has to do with cameras behind the camera or anything like that. But from what he's talked about it, he said that he doesn't prefer it because it makes everything very flat. And so in order to create depth and make the subjects look interesting, he created a lot of light and contrast between dark and light. And so you'll see in this episode in particular, like when Angelus is chasing Jenny, you have the flashes between the light, dark, and it's all over the episode.
Lighting was actually something that I noticed even at the beginning when Buffy's dancing in the club.
Yes.
She has a spotlight kind of shining on her. And Angelus is, shrouded in shadow, dressed in all black in the corner, watching her. I found that kind of interesting, just the juxtaposition of Buffy, like the picture of innocence, in a spotlight. Then you have Angelus, who's, kind of like an angel of death over in the corner.
Yeah. There was a couple like scenes in here where the color red was on Angelus. And in my mind, I'm like, when I think of like passion, I think of like red. I think of like a bright color. And I'll point out the scenes to you when they come along, but I just was like, oh, I like that's really interesting. Like one in particular, I'll explain a little bit further, but it was just really interesting.
So he says he uses colors and pools of color to set up contrast. And so like you see that a lot throughout the entire show. We've talked about the use of color. We've talked about the use of light and dark and contrast, but I think this episode is really pronounced because you have the guy that does the lighting that's actually behind the camera. So he hunts for it. He looks for it and he sets up the shot so that it draws attention to that. And I just think that makes this episode particularly very beautiful.
One other thing about lighting that I found interesting is, especially, in the beginning when you have that contrast, it just kind of shows how this whole show does gender reversal a little bit in a different way than most shows. In a very interesting way. Because in most shows and in life in general, a lot of times when you have a girl who, loses her virginity for the first time, it's a loss. And she almost, in the eyes of most people, she loses something about herself. And in this show, it's reversed, where Angel loses something about herself, and Buffy actually retains her innocence. And
oh wow, that's a good idea.
I found that interesting, where you have Buffy, and even in the next scene where she's in her bed and her walls have butterflies on them, and she's dressed in all white. It's very symbolic of innocence.
Yeah,
and Angel loses part of it all because of that act. So I found that role reversal very interesting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. This episode, I feel like, is the bookend to Innocence. Like you have Innocence, and then you have like, I think it's 1 or 2 episodes between that, and then you have this one. And
I always think they're back to back.
Yeah, right. But there's like a good bookend, and it's, we'll get to the rest of it. But just to finish up the intro, sorry, I know this is a lot, but this is a heavy episode. Originally, Oz was supposed to die, not Jenny Calendar.
I knew this, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the reason why they chose Jenny over Oz is they felt like Oz had some interesting places that they wanted to go with as a character versus Jenny. They're like, this would be super impactful for Giles mostly. And they wanted to push the story arc forward with him. But I just thought, like, how different would the show be if it had been Oz that had died?
Also, there could be some really interesting storylines they could use in the future where like Giles doesn't really trust Angel, or Giles doesn't trust Buffy's intuition when it comes to Angel. Like it could be, there's so much they could do because like Giles is her like father figure. He's the one that she goes to when she's like worried or like needs advice. So it just is really a smart move to kind of kill Jenny to kind of like, I don't know, possibly use that in the future.
And also I think that maybe this is the evil in me, but I also think in a way that Giles needed to be affected by slaying as much as everyone else is. And I think that, well, I guess Xander and Willow aren't affected as much at this point, but Buffy herself is completely controlled by slaying. She is controlled in every area of her life by slaying. And you see that. You see the effect it has on her relationships, on everything. And so I think that, and I already talked about it in the beginning of the episode, but like, it's interesting to me that Buffy was so concerned about Angelus and was like, he was in my house. I found the drawing. My mom was there and she's freaking out. And then, Giles is just very like, Mom, like, it's fine. Like, we'll deal with it. You can't let your passions control you, is what he said. Yep. And so I love the fact that, I know Joss Whedon did that on purpose because he wanted to set Giles up for kind of regretting the fact that he was so
Passive.
Yeah, thank you. But I like the fact that as a watcher, you are not immune to getting hurt in this, in the job. And so I like that Giles is affected in some way. Is it sad? Did he deserve that? Absolutely not. But I do like that he's affected.
I think like his title is very like fitting, and I know I've talked about this before, but he's viewed his job title as what it's named, as a watcher. So I think, and especially we've seen this in the first season and we've mentioned this before, but it's like he's like, oh, you need to hone in on your senses or whatever. He is very like by the book, and I think this is the first time we've seen Giles, kind of like what Leah was saying, be affected by it. And it's like, wow, this is like this is going to affect Buffy's life the rest of her life. And if it's going to affect all of ours, like I can't imagine what Buffy has to go through. And so I have to adjust how I teach her things.
I wrote that down, Leah, as well, where Buffy is kind of explaining that she feels unsafe because Angel was in a room, and Giles says, I know how you feel. And I felt like, well, it's probably kind of how every girl rolls her eyes when she's like, oh, I'm scared at night when I walk to my car after leaving my job. And her boyfriend's like, oh, I know how you feel. And you're like, okay.
Yes, you 6'5", 250-pound man.
Yeah.
Not typecasting at all. All right, so let's jump into the episode. We've already discussed half of it now. I know, I'm sorry. Okay, so the opening episode is an overhead shot in the bronze, which is just really an interesting way to start. And you have, like David was talking about, the spotlight on Buffy. You have lots of red lighting highlighting the black. Specifically, you have kind of a golden light on Buffy, but then you have Angel lurking in the back. And I was struck by two things in this scene. You have Xander and Buffy dancing while Angel watches and Cordelia watches.
Yeah,
where have we seen this before? It was when she was bad. It was the first episode of the season when everyone's watching and Buffy has like that attitude. She's not quite herself and she goes and dirty dances with Xander. In this, obviously, there's a contrast between the way they're dancing now. Like it's very much friends. But I just thought that there was an interesting like comparison between that. And then on top of that, you have Angel or Angelus, who is kind of sizing her up like he's the predator, she's the prey. And that reminds me of School Hard when Spike walks into the bronze with Buffy dancing and he lurks back there and watches her as well. So there's a lot of similarities and correlations they're trying to make. And it's just creepy. It's just really creepy. He's very predator-like.
Yeah. And I think that honestly, when I was watching him watch her, like another kind of, I know, watching him watch her, me watching them watch each other, Giles as the watcher.
Jenny from the heavens.
Yeah. Oh, goodness.
Sorry, she wasn't dead yet. Never mind.
Don't put her in the grave too soon.
Anyway, go ahead.
I think that I kind of got more of the sense of season 1 when we don't really know who Angel is. We don't know if he's good or bad. And we would see him watching Buffy in the bronze and we were kind of like, is he her friend? Is he trying to mess with her? And so I think that it was kind of, in my mind, it was kind of giving us a sense of we're back to that place with Angelus where we're like, what is he doing? We don't know who he is. We don't know what he wants. And I think that anyone can interpret that scene any way they want. Obviously, we already have 3 different opinions about it, but it definitely
David's doesn't count.
Yes. Okay,
there's 4 people in the room. No, I think this episode does a good job of scaring us because you have them in the bronze, which is their happy place. Angel's there. You have Willow's house. Angel was there. You have Buffy's house. Xander's. Nobody's cares about Xander. You have Giles' house. You have all these places that are their most secure. Their bedrooms, their homes, where they should feel the most safe, and he's violated every single one, and it's just creepy.
Even their high school.
That's true. Yeah, and he kills in the high school too. Yeah, totally. All right, so they're dancing, the comparison, and then they all leave the bronze as you have the voiceover. And it's interesting because Angel's drinking in the shadows and he has the girl there and he's holding her as a shield. And as soon as they pass by, he just kind of lets her fall. But I think it's kind of symbolic because it's almost like he has to drink to survive. But even as he's drinking someone else, he's still thinking about Buffy. He just can't get her off his mind.
Well, even Willow says at the end of the episode, she says, one thing hasn't changed. You're still the only thing he thinks about.
Totally.
Which is part of you's at least I made an impression on him when he has no soul. But also, I don't want him thinking about me anymore.
And I think that part of that reason is that Buffy reminds Angelus of who Angel was.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
anytime he sees Buffy, all he can think about is the soul version of himself, which he hates. He hates everything about Angel. And so I think that anytime he sees Buffy, that's all he's reminded of. And I think that's why he's driven to this passionate, for lack of a better word, and kind of like obsessive point, because he wants to bring Buffy down to such a corrupt and insane level, because he wants to show that nothing is pure and that the person who made him pure isn't pure anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also something that's a bit more chilling about it is Angelus and Angel are the same person. They only miss a soul. So the things that attracted Angel to Buffy are the things that attract Angelus to Buffy as well. And that makes it a little bit more chilling. It's not that there is a complete different personality that takes over. It's the same personality. It's just lacking a soul. So there's still a familiarity between Buffy and Angel. And it makes it that much more heartbreaking when Angel goes out and does something as chilling as what happened in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The lines feel a lot more blurry right now than they did initially when it was like, oh, when a vampire takes over a person, like that's a completely different entity. There's no personality that's similar or anything. And now we're like, but Angelus is equally as obsessed with Buffy. And we're starting to go, okay, why is that?
Exactly.
Yeah. And it could be, like Leah said, because Angelus hates how Buffy made Angel feel like a real person, like a real man. And in part, Angelus made Angelus feel that way. Or it could be, hey, I see someone innocent and pure like he did with Drusilla, and I want to taint that. There's something there.
Yeah, I think we've talked a lot about the lighting, but I also really wanted to point out the music in this episode. So good.
This
The switch from like normal, happy, or like innocent music to like horror and really intense is
the
just
clicking
done.
is just
It's done
It feels
very
like
well.
a heartbeat, though.
Yeah, it does.
Mhm.
The Christoph Beck is just phenomenal. Starting season 2, you notice a huge change in the music. Like it's just gorgeous. But this song that is playing, the like is called Angel Waits.
Ooh,
Wow.
chilling.
It's so creepy. Very creepy. It's just creepy. Like, especially because you have like Angel watching Buffy in the window. Like, yeah. Anyway. All right. So Buffy's in her window. Angel's watching her. And Buffy goes to bed like you were talking about, just that very innocent. She looks very peaceful. She's sleeping.
He's stroking her face like a
Ah.
child.
But
I get
even
serious Twilight vibes from that.
I think Twilight got serious vibes from Angel.
yes,
Like,
correct yourself.
Edward's taking notes about Angelus, the evil character.
Edward's
Honestly-
actually a secret Buffy fan.
but like even before like he comes in, I love like the camera angle where it's like focusing on Buffy sleeping, but kind of like in the window you see him just like watching and observing. And I like how they show that like he's just kind of always there. Like it's very cool.
There's a lot of interesting transitions between Angelus to Angel face. Like they intentionally do it when he's watching her walk away with her friends from Angelus to Angel to show kind of that like, ooh, like which is it? Even though we know Angelus right now is just very interesting. They also have that moment where Buffy, like she gets into bed. The last time we had Angel watching Buffy in her room, which was in the beginning of season 2 when she was bad, she sensed Angel's presence. In this one, she doesn't sense him at all, which I think is telling because Angel's not actually there. It's Angelus.
I think it's also interesting because Angel has never entered Buffy's house without asking, even though
That is true.
He, like, because you watch, like, anytime he'd show up at her window, anytime he'd be at her door, like, he would make a point to always ask if he could come in.
Yeah, I mean,
because
technically he
knew.
was on the inside of the window, but he still asked.
Right, right. But it was still like a, hey, can I come in? Even if
Yeah.
he was in there, like, he would have left if she said no. And I think that he made a point to say that, like, yes, I am a vampire and I can enter now whenever I want to. But I also think he always wanted to make her feel safe.
Yeah.
And I think that it's very interesting now that, like, obviously he's not going to be like, hey, can I come in when he's like Angelus? But I think it's very interesting now. It's like a very subtle shift in showing that, like, he's using what he used to do against her. And, like, he made her feel so safe. And so now he's taking advantage of what Angel did to her.
And he could just kill her. He could have just killed her so many times right there. But he's having fun torturing her.
Yep.
It's just so, it's
Yep.
cruel.
Well, then she wakes up and finds the envelope, which a lovely drawing.
Oh, Angelus is an artist.
Yeah, actually pretty good artist.
I saw an edit that someone made. I don't remember who it was of Angel and Buffy moments. And I was like, oh, this is so sweet. And this fool put the drawing of her in there. So I was like, do you know?
That was not a sweet moment.
I was like, what?
I think what's even creepier about it is the fact that like drawings take a long time. Like it wasn't something that he sat there and was like, beep, beep,
He's
okay,
in the
done.
factory
Like,
next to the
fact-
fire
yeah,
with
like, the fact that
Drusilla's
he, like,
puppy.
sat there for probably hours just like sketching this out of her just at peace, knowing how much this was going to taunt her is probably one of the creepiest things to me. Like, and risking her mom walking in and like it's very like eerie to me.
I mean, he could have drawn it wherever, but like, what a neat detail to put into your episode, because it's something that normally is beautiful, like, oh, you drew a picture of me, but now it's terrifying. You know what I mean? And then he draws pictures of all her loved ones too. It's like, okay,
We get the point.
yeah, you're obsessed with me.
You're a good artist. We
Get a
it.
life, Angelus.
He's just trying to show his talents. Next,
He
he starts like writing poetry for her. He like sends her little like
Why
voice
don't you love
recordings of,
me?
like him singing for her.
He's like, hey Buffy, I want to kill you. Also, did you get my? Did
Did you get my voice memo? He's like also trying to hit on her.
Super confused.
Anyway, all right, so in the library, Buffy's like, hey, he was in my room today. And I think it's okay. So you'll notice that Tony Head is in the background and he's stamping books and stuff. And he was talking about, in an interview, they asked him like if he's a method actor, and Tony was like, no, I'm not a method actor, but I believe in doing things to help yourself as an actor. And he gave this really cool quote. He says, I'm able to use discomfort and other things like that to get me in the right mood for things. He says, there are times when the director says, I want you over there, find something to do. Something I was pleased with the other day was that they stuck me behind my desk because it looked good in the shot. And I thought, what the heck am I going to do down here? Everyone else was on the other side of the library and Buffy was coming in to say something big. I think it was in Passion when she comes to say that Angel had been in her room. I decided to stamp the school address in the library books. Then, because Buffy has said something earth-shattering, I wandered into the same scene with the stamp in my hand. It was just a little thing, but those are the kinds of things that brings life into scenes. I don't look for props for their own sake. And I think Anthony Stewart Head does a phenomenal job of doing little things that look so natural, and it just makes you feel like that's an actual person with their own quirks. So I just love that he wanders in there and he's so distracted that he brings the stamp in with him.
I know all these actors and actresses do such a good job of portraying their characters that I literally cannot picture what their personalities are like outside of the show.
I feel like Nicholas Brendan is pretty much Xander.
Jeez, I hope not, man. Especially
Maybe
in this episode.
he's later Xander.
Yeah, Xander had some comments in this episode. Like,
Yeah,
"Ooh,
we
this is
all were like,
problematic."
Yeah, it's-
Oh yeah, we
Yes.
try to give Xander as much credit as possible.
We say that every episode and then we're like, but Xander.
I weigh less than everyone else.
I will start fairly judging him after season 3.
Yeah, okay, what did you think of his comment? He says, valuable lesson for you girls, and don't invite strange men into your bedrooms.
Oh yeah, and he makes a comment earlier about them having a sleepover. Like, well, what guy friend makes comments like that about their platonic girlfriends? That's so creepy.
He also has a girlfriend too. I'm like, ew, leave
But
him alone.
I think what's worse is that like, because I mean to be like not to like lord my young youth over you guys,
My youth.
but like I just graduated high school in 2019. I had to remember.
Such a baby.
And there's a lot of guys that like talk like this. Like they may not be as like crazy as Xander is, and they may not be as bold about it, but like when they get around their guy friends or when like they're around people they know won't call them out for their childish behavior, they talk like this. And so like Xander is a pretty extreme but a pretty accurate representation of what a lot of high school guys can talk like. And I think that's why I hate him all the time. Because I'm just like,
Fair.
ooh, like sometimes I do get flashbacks of like high school or even like middle school. And sometimes you're just like, ooh, I hated that.
Most guys that talk like that don't have a platonic girlfriend. They can beat them up though.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Well, and the thing is, he says these things in front of Cordelia, and I feel like Cordelia is so like honest. Sometimes I wonder why she doesn't call him out as much as she like does everybody else, or even Buffy. But
It was the 90s. Those types of comments were a little bit more.
I guess so, man.
understandable in that time
I guess
frame.
the further we get away from the 90s, every rewatch, I'm like, whoa, this seems worse and worse, you know?
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
But okay, so Cordelia's freaking out because she's like, crap, Angel was in my car. I gave him a ride once. Now he's going to be able to get in my car whenever. And I love that nobody bothers to correct her. They're just like,
Yeah.
okay,
They're
Cordelia.
just like,
All
she'll
right, figure it out. It'll be okay.
And this is the first time we hear from anybody that you can actually reverse the spell. And so Giles is like, all right, well, I think you can. I'm going to look that up and see what I can find.
And then a couple students walk into the library.
Oh,
and
how
all
dare
stop
they?
Talking. They're like, "What are you doing in here?" They're like, "Oh, we need to check out some books."
Yeah, Jonathan.
And I will say that Xander does have a funny line where they're just like, "This is a library," and he goes, "Since when?"
Yeah, I know. Okay, well, this is the first time we've seen people in the library since Never Kill a Boy on the First Date, or no, I Robot You, Jane, when you had like Fritz and what's his
But
face.
they all were
yeah.
doing like a project. So I can
Yeah.
guarantee Willow was like, "Right, let's meet in the library." But like Jonathan decided to come in on his own.
I love that Jonathan is the one that comes in. He has like one scene and
the
he
way
just
he
comes
walks.
in.
Literally kills me. He like walks on his tippy toes, and
Yeah.
it's just so funny.
It's
It's
the
just,
way.
like,
No,
dorky.
honestly, what sounds me is the way he talks. He's just like, "This is the library,"
Yeah.
and everyone's just like, "Get out!"
How dare you? Yeah. Okay. So then Xander like gives everybody a look like, let's go talk somewhere else. And Jonathan's like, excuse you, librarian.
He's like, "Hello, I need some help."
I love that Cordelia says, why doesn't he just slit her throat or, strangle her and cut out her beating heart while she sleeps?
And then no one talks. And then she's like, "What? I'm trying to help."
I know. Bless her heart.
I will say this is one of the points where I actually appreciated Cordelia because, like, even though she is very insensitive, I like that she's one of the only people who's genuinely thinking about this
Yeah.
realistically and being like, "Oh, like,
Why
why
doesn't he
didn't
just
he
kill
kill
her?"
her? Because he
Yeah.
definitely could." Whereas the rest of them, besides Buffy, are just kind of like, meh.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a little discouraging to hear Giles just be like, well, he's just taunting you. And,
Imagine how
basically
violating
just
that would
ignore
be.
him.
And Giles talks about like ignoring her passions and being super calm, which is kind of ironic. When you see him lose his calm later. in the
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah. And I think that's supposed to be a very specific
Phrase.
screw you, Giles.
But
Like,
it's also like, I think that part of the reason why Buffy is such a good Slayer and such a just good character in general is the fact that she is very passionate and she's very empathetic. She feels things very deeply. And I think that that's what makes her good, is that she is very much involved in whatever she does. And I think that if she was just by the book, she would not be as good as a Slayer as she is. And so it's very ironic that Giles is like, don't let your passions control you, especially when like you need passion in life and in a relationship, especially like with Jenny. Could you imagine if Buffy was like, don't let your passions control you with his relationship with Jenny? Like, he'd be so pissed.
But again, I kind of like what I said earlier. We've seen only the by the book Giles so far.
well, we saw Ripper Giles when he had the
But he
with
didn't
Ethan
want to tell them
Rain.
though. Like he
Right.
wasn't even telling the whole episode. And then like Buffy was like, "You need to tell me what's going on right now," because people were literally dying.
Sure. Yeah. It's just interesting to see his Ripper come out in full force. We've heard hints of it, but like, yeah, this is a scary side of Giles that
Yeah.
we haven't seen before. All right. So Giles is like, you just need to ignore him. And Xander, I love that he's like, nah, 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 nah. And Giles is like, yes, you've done it again, Xander. You've taken a complex thought and boiled it down to its simplest form.
Giles
So
is
good.
so good at just like
Putting Xander in his
really
place.
humbling Xander
Yeah.
quick. Like, I'd be terrified if Giles didn't like me. That man would send me home crying every day. Like, he's just very intelligently like, you're an idiot. Shut up.
Yeah. Buffy says that she's worried for Joyce
Yeah.
or Mrs. Summers.
Fair.
Because she said that Angel had told her that the first thing he did to Drew's, to kind of make Drew crazy was kill her family. So I would be nervous too. I'd be like, why are you making jokes when like he's been in my room and like my family could be targeted?
I don't know why she didn't just be like, hey, Joyce, can you go on a vacation or something? Like, I would do whatever I could to just like get her out of the house. Like, I would do whatever I could.
But you would have to explain to her though. She wouldn't just like willingly leave. Like
You saw her try to do that in Prophecy Girl.
That's true.
yeah.
Yeah, imagine you told mom, "Hey, mom, can you just go live with a friend for a week?"
Yeah, it's not going to go over well.
I don't know. I feel like I could come if I was motivated by her death. I feel like I could come up with a pretty convincing lie. I'd be like, "Hey, go take a vacation. I'll pay for it," and then just never pay for it.
Yeah. And the next time a big bad rolls into town, she's not going to believe you and leave.
Yeah, but it's different when they have a literal invitation in your house. Like, I'd be really motivated.
But any big bad, if they're not a vampire, can get in the house. So, like, yeah, I don't know. It is telling that she thinks of her mom. This is also the first time we've gotten any sort of an inkling that Buffy wants to tell her mom that she's a slayer.
Yeah.
Like, this is the first time we've seen her go, man, maybe I should tell her because she's in some real danger here.
Which, not to like, I don't know. I don't understand why she hasn't told her mom, in all honesty. Like, she told both of her friends. They took it completely fine. Like, what's the worst that happened to her? Mom's like,
Well, they
wow,
found
that's
out about
awful.
it.
Like, yeah, they found out, but like, still, like, realistically speaking, I just don't really see like why she wouldn't tell her.
I don't know.
But
She's a teenage girl. Teenage girls keep things from their parents.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's not like she doesn't have a good
I think
relationship
that's
with her
kind
mom.
of the point though at this point. Like the idea of like, oh, like you have this whole life that your parents don't understand about. or
Yeah, it's a
don't know.
metaphor for, teenage life. So, and Cordelia says, you can ride around in my car until, she's safe. And she's like, thanks, Cordelia. And Cordelia keeps giving these like helpful little things and everybody just ignores her the entire time. Then Giles and Buffy decide to go over to Miss Calendar's classroom. And Buffy like barely gives Miss Calendar eye contact. I guess I should say Jenny. Before then you have Jenny talking to Willow saying, hey, I have something I have to do. Can you cover class for me tomorrow? And Willow jumps like from being freaked out by this responsibility to be like, whoa, can I assign detention in like one breath?
Which, like, for real, I haven't seen this show in a long time, so I forgot just how much anxiety Willow carries around.
It's true. But in all honesty, I think I would be the same way.
If you're asked to cover your
came up to
teacher's
me,
class,
like, it's like
that
subbing
doesn't
is
bother me.
well, that's because you're a literal like teacher's assistant, so it's a little different. But like, because I've had to actually sub in a classroom
but this is
before,
coming from two
not as-
sixes.
not as like an actual teacher, but like as like a teacher's assistant, and it was literally the most stressful thing ever. Like I was like on the verge of tears. I was like, this is terrible. I hate this so much.
The first day of any job is hardly.
Yes, but I'm just saying like it's a lot of pressure and it's a lot of stress. It's a little different if it's like one class,
But,
and,
like,
everyone is just, it's like computer science. You can literally just be like, go play a game on the computer.
but Willow literally jumps to, what if they don't recognize my authority? And I'm like, whoa, Willow, whoa. Like, you are literally just a sub. It's okay. You'll be fine. But yeah, so then Giles and Buffy come in and Giles is trying to ask her about a spell. And Buffy just kind of gives her the cold shoulder. She doesn't even acknowledge Miss Calendar saying her name. And you could tell she's kind of like shooting daggers at Willow with her eyes like, how are you talking to her? Like, you're supposed
Or
to
let's
be
go
like,
talk somewhere else.
my friend. And what does it Willow say as she's walking away?
They have authority. And if we don't respect authority, then it'll be chaos.
Yeah. She's like, they should be respected too. Because all of a sudden she's realizing I'm going to be in this spot tomorrow.
Yep. I just honestly, and I think that Buffy handles it better than I would. If some woman was the reason why my boyfriend lost his soul, I don't think I would ever have a nice thing to say about her. Like,
Yeah.
I think I would go absolutely crazy on her every single time I saw her.
I mean, okay, I don't know. I kind of understand where Jenny's coming from. Like, especially when she talks to, like, Giles. She's like, I was raised by the people Angel hurt the most. And she's grown up her whole life by them being like, Angelus is the worst. Angelus did this, blah, 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 blah. But she was sent to make sure that he's not, like, getting the happy to, like, turn back into Angelus.
Getting happy.
But like, I don't know. I understand. Do I agree? Just because we've seen from the other perspective,
Yeah.
we also haven't seen her perspective.
Yeah.
So I feel bad, but I also understand why she's isolated.
Yeah. And I mean, I totally understand from like Jenny's point of view. Like, I don't think she's an evil person at all. I think that she just had blind loyalty to someone. But I think that I completely understand. And I think that Buffy's reaction to her is completely justified.
Well, and I mean, we saw back in Surprise and Innocence when Jenny gets on her uncle and says, "This has to stop." She didn't know the extent of the curse. She was just told, "Watch Angel." She didn't know that what would happen, and so she's feeling guilty about that and realizing, okay, we're causing the cycle of pain. Like at some point, we got to just let bygones be bygones. And so I feel for her here because she's going, I didn't mean for anybody to get hurt. I didn't know the extent of what was happening. And then on top of all of this, she lets it slip that she loves Giles. And she's like, crap. And she realizes in that moment how hard it is for him because he's feeling a loyalty to Buffy. But then she knows he also cares for her. And so then she feels guilty about putting him in a weird spot. So then it's just like this whole messy situation.
Yeah. I also wrote down all the different times that the Giles and Jenny theme played in this episode.
Yeah.
So this is the first time we hear it.
Yep. And it's everywhere in this episode.
It's everywhere in this episode, but it is so beautiful. If you're a huge Ed Sheeran fan, listen to
A Fire Love.
A Fire Love. Yep. And he uses this song as the background soundtrack and he sings on top of it.
Yeah, he sampled it and wrote the song about his grandparents and his dad had
and the correlations between Buffy and Angelus as well.
I do like the fact that as much as you can tell Giles loves Jenny and wants to be back in a relationship with her, I love that he felt a need to have her relationship with Buffy reconciled before he ever progressed in his relationship with her, out of respect as her watcher, but also just like out of care for Buffy, because I think he knew he couldn't just do that to her, and it's just a very sweet thing.
Well, Giles takes his role as a watcher very seriously, but he also is a surrogate father to Buffy as well. And he knows that he can't bring another woman into his life if her and Buffy are not going to get along.
Yeah. Well, and it's also sweet, too, to watch Buffy look out for Giles. She's angry at Miss Calendar, but she sees how much he misses her and still attempts to, like, say, hey, like, be cool with Giles. Like, at the very least, I don't want him to be unhappy. Yeah. And that's just precious. And so then we move to the dining room where Buffy's like sitting there and she's probably stewing about the fact that she has to tell her mom something. And then she's also, anxious about Angel. And Joyce is like, all right, what's wrong? Something's wrong. You've got to tell me. And Buffy tries to explain, hey, do you remember Angel? And she's like, yeah, the guy tutoring you in history, which call back to, season 1 Angel. She's like, yeah, we were, kind of dating. Now we're not. And I love that Joyce says, let me guess, he's not the same guy you fell for, which the way to hit the metaphor, like right on the head.
Do we really need to explain that metaphor?
Yeah, exactly.
And she's like, in a nutshell. And you're like, oh, I mean, what else could you explain other than that without being like, hey, I'm a vampire slayer, he's a vampire. Like, he got his soul taken away, now he's killing all my friends.
And I'm a slayer, so I'm supposed to technically kill him. But her mom's like,
I'm really struggling right now.
I do, I love the fact that Joyce is very kind and just being like, I told you so, but like, in a very sweet, sweet way. Like, she isn't like, well, I could have told you that, all men are pigs. Like, she's just very much like the way that she...
Yeah, it reminds me of your father.
Yeah, the way that she says it is very much like, we've all been there. We've all gone through that. And like, kind of almost like reassuring her in a way of like, this isn't you. This isn't about you and your experience. Like, everyone's gone through this and it's okay. And she says it in a very like, maybe I'm reading into it, but like, I feel like she says that in very little words and just reassures Buffy in a very kind way.
One thing that I liked as well is that Joyce, while she's being kind, doesn't let Buffy off the hook.
Yeah.
And she tells Buffy, like, are you just saying that? Or do you actually believe you made a mistake? Like, she's being a parent to Buffy because Buffy needs a parent right now. Like, as much as Buffy seems like an adult sometimes, and she's doing very adult things in this show, she is still a teenager, and she still needs guidance, and she still needs parental control. And Joyce does a very good job of being her mother while also being supportive.
Yeah, you talking about their conversation later when she finds out that she slept with Angelus.
Yes, absolutely.
Or Angel. Yeah, Angelus. Yeah, totally. And it's hard because Joss Whedon originally didn't want to have Joyce in Buffy. He didn't want to have any parents there because he thought they would be a hindrance, and then realized that was unrealistic. We have to show some parents.
She's like living alone.
Yeah, exactly. It's just not going to work. So he wrote Joyce in kind of in a way to be a foil to Buffy and to kind of be like, the one that's kind of stopping her, sometimes a plot device. And so I feel like Joyce gets the short end of the stick in these first few seasons because she only pops up when she needs to be there to tell Buffy, no, don't do something, or to just be in danger. So I love that they're giving her more depth and you're having these conversations because it literally is a real relationship. I feel like a real mom would actually say those things.
That's one nice thing that I really liked about Joyce and Buffy throughout the entire series. They definitely had a very real mother-daughter relationship.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And it sucks because I think in the fandom, I hear a lot about people saying, oh, Joyce was a crap mom.
What?
And I'm like, yeah, it's actually
that.
a very prevalent thing. And I think that there is obviously some validity to it.
I think that anyone who thinks that is literally just a teenager who doesn't like authauthority. And that's coming from a teenager who doesn't like authority. Because
speaking from experience.
When I first watched the show, I've talked about this like a trillion times, but I watched the first 3 seasons and I remember around season like 1 and like halfway through season 2, I was kind of like, oh, all Joyce does is harp on Buffy, blah, blah, blah. And then I realized like 90% of what your parents do when you're a teenager is like, yeah, kind of get on your case a little bit because you need that when you're a teenager.
Yeah, but teenagers are stupid.
But yeah, but
sorry to any teenagers listening.
But Buffy's getting fights in school.
Yeah,
she's getting like notes home from the principal. Like
but
she burnt down a freaking gym.
Yeah.
Like,
also, I think what's important and what shows that Joyce is a good mom is, yes, she gets on Buffy's case a lot, but every single time she does it, it is kind, it is loving, it is. Very rarely is it like accusatory. It's always just like, what's going on? Like, can you explain the situation to me? Like, it is, and that's what makes her a good mom, is the fact that like she is more than just a disciplinary figure. She is someone who wants to encourage her and grow her into becoming the best version of herself. And I think that that's a realistic portrayal of what a parent relationship is. A lot of it is going to be them kind of telling you, hey, I don't want you going out or doing this. But I think that the moments that do show them really connecting, it feels very real, and she's shown to Buffy and proven to her that she cares about her. And so everyone can have their opinions, but like Joyce is a good mom.
Joyce over here.
She's a good parent.
Yeah. I think the parts where she's a bad parent is literally just plot device. Like, you know, Buffy sneaks out. Why doesn't Joyce know she snuck out? You can't have Joyce knowing. So they made those parts simply so that we could have Buffy out.
Plus you have Buffy who's like a slayer and all she does is sneak into places and like beat people up and do espionage. So she couldn't even sneak out of her own house, and Buffy would probably be a pretty bad, you know, at her job.
Yeah, that's true.
True.
All right. So then we have this interesting and really sad, this always makes me sad, moment where Willow is in her room.
The scene actually kind of kills me.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was kind of funny.
Oh, okay. Why do I still like, feel bad? She's wandering around her room.
Like, it's very cute. Like, they're on the phone. It's very like best friend moment. You know, they're just like talking about, you know, how her ex-boyfriend wants to like murder her.
It's very cute.
Yeah, Willow's pajamas are like a 6-year-old's.
Yeah.
Aw.
But I think like it's very funny to me because like they're talking and Willow's very much like, yeah, Buffy, like that's so hard, and like trying to empathize with her, and then like
she's like, I think Giles is right, just ignore him.
Yeah, and then she like finds the dead fish, and then it immediately cuts to her being like, thanks for letting me stay over.
Yeah. I know. Well, this show is so cool.
Holding a steak too.
Yeah, garlic behind her.
I noted that. Yeah, because we talked about in the first season how
garlic
we don't think
back,
there's any garlic
man.
in the whole season.
Yeah.
Does garlic even do anything to vampires in Buffy?
They've never said that it does, but they put it there. That's a
shows how desperate they are,
a lot of garlic.
Which
but
honestly,
they're desperate.
That might just show, like Tabby said, like that might just show to the fact that they're like, we will do anything to keep this man out.
Joyce is like, what the heck are you guys doing with all of the garlic?
Like, Mom, we love Italian food.
Like, you know, we're testing something out, a science experiment.
Yeah, right. Well, okay, so I think it's just terrifying because they did a really good job, with the exception of Giles's house, of showing Angel in all of these locations. Like, you have Angel going into Willow's room in the episode Lie to Me when he's not sure about Ford. And it feels like that was intentional, showing Angel go to all those places, because now we know he can enter as much as he wants to. And that's just creepy.
I don't understand why they didn't just go to like Xander's house.
Because we know Angel ain't going there.
Why would you want to have a sleepover with Xander anyway?
No.
Yeah, he's going to videotape you.
I know.
Thinks you guys want to have a pillow fight?
I would not sleep the entire time. I would just be like
He'd
staring
probably
at him.
rip
I
on
would
Willow's
let Angel
outfit to
come
go to
in
bed.
so we could kill Xander.
He's like sitting out the window. I'm like, come on in.
He'd probably be like, Willow, why are you wearing that? Why aren't you wearing lingerie to bed?
Ew, I don't even want to think about it.
No.
But I think that, like, if you really think about it realistically, like, if I was Willow, because she's been best friends with Xander for years, she knows Xander has no interest in her. And I'm pretty sure they've alluded to the fact that they've had sleepovers before.
Yeah, they have.
And so I would go to Xander's house because I know for sure that Xander never let Angel in his house. So I'll be like, that would be the first place I would think of.
But I think for her, she's like, I'm the Slayer, and I don't want to leave my mom alone in this house by herself.
Well, no,
so
I was
I'm gonna
talking
stay.
about
Well,
Willow.
Willow's parents,
Buffy.
Willow just was like, bye, Mom and Dad. Oh,
Like, I totally understand why Buffy would want to go over to Xander's house because he'd be a creep to her. But Willow's had sleepovers with Xander before, so if I was Willow, I'd go for Xander's house.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't think there's really a win-win in any of these situations here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kind of shifting gears from like the funny part of the scene, but like the second part is like, I'm like, oh, poor girl. She says her first instinct is still to run to Angel, and she says she can't believe they're the same person.
Yeah.
And that's kind of interesting. It's like if you ever had a bad breakup,
Yep.
then every time something bad or even something good happens in your life, your first instinct is to be like, oh, I want to tell that person, or I want to hear from them. Because you're so used to having that special person there with you, but then you realize, oh, I can't because they're no longer there anymore.
Yeah.
But also, like, she said she can't believe they're the same person. And I guarantee that girls, I mean, I personally have never gone through like something not like this, but where a guy changes his personality. It seemingly changes his personality after like you are intimate with them. But like, she's like, I just like it. She can't even comprehend that. We're like, I don't know, kind of like what Dave was saying, like either there's like a bad breakup or like someone's just like completely turns and is just like really like cruel to you in a relationship where you just kind of cling to the old memories. And I feel like that's kind of like the fuel of like very toxic relationships. And like, I remember my friend brought this up to me and she said that I knew that I wasn't meant to be with him when I started reminiscing on old memories and not new memories. And, I don't know, that just kind of like really stuck to me. So when she said that, I was just like, man, like a lot of girls and a lot of people have gone through that, and it's just heartbreaking.
Yeah. And I think that Sarah's mentioned it before, where Joss Whedon wrote the whole Angelus Angel storyline to show and portray the type of bad guy who was literally in the relationship for sex or intimacy or just to gain something from the girl. So they will portray a sweet, kind guy, which Angel is a sweet, kind guy. So they kind of made the metaphor a little different. But like just to get something from her. And as soon as they get that, they turn into this completely different person. And then you have the girl, which I mean, to be fair, I think this could be a woman as well, but for metaphor's sake,
there are a couple different metaphors that are going on here, I think, but I think they're just trying to show with a relationship when you have someone that changes. I think it's just a toxic relationship all around. But yeah, totally. Yeah, you're still the only thing that he thinks about, which I'm like, oh, like, I don't know. This is so great.
Sweet.
Yeah, multiple feelings.
Not great. So then back to the warehouse and Willow just mentions Puppy. And then, you have Drusilla trying to cheer up Mopey Spike. She's like, come on, Spike.
With
and
a
she
puppy.
calls it Miss Sunshine.
Which is like naming your puppy like arsenic or something.
Yeah, something that can kill you. She's like, open up. And he's like, no. Like, I love Mopey Spike.
Yep.
Is my favorite.
And I mean,
Grumpy.
I've been very avid about my love for Spike, but Spike is the funniest character in this
He's
episode.
so dramatic.
The fact that he's just like so dramatic and so pissed off the whole episode kills me.
He's also
because-
the most realistic character,
Yes.
though. Like, let's face it, Angelus is a little cray cray. Like,
Oh, for
he's
sure.
not. He's being a little gutsy, and how he's
It's
not being
because
smart
he's
about
so
this.
angry at Buffy.
I think it's more just he's like, like I can do what I want.
Angelus seems like just a little unhinged, even for a vampire.
Yeah, right.
Well, and
You're
I
like, I
also-
don't know many vampires, but he seems a little
and I
out
think
of
it's
there.
also because
Like
like
that one or two in my lifetime, but
I also think it's like the fact that Spike has realistically gone up against Buffy and lost.
Well, yeah.
And so I
he's
think that
in a
he has
wheelchair.
a genuine fear of like, hey, maybe don't completely piss off the person who could come in here and kill us right now, because
While I'm
Spike
in a
has a very
wheelchair.
Spike
thanks,
has a
thanks,
very,
Angel.
like, real fear of him, whereas Angel has only been on the good side of Buffy, and so I don't think that he hasn't really fought her when she wants to kill him.
I just think he's completely forgotten how strong she is as Angelus, so he's kind of been like, psh, I'll take care of it later, I'm fine. Like, it doesn't really seem like it's very major in his eyes.
It's because he always got the soft side of Buffy.
Well, Angelus is just arrogant. He's an arrogant
Super
douchebag.
arrogant.
He's over there like basically challenging Spike for, head vampire, and is over there talking about how he's sleeping with Drusilla and
His
he's
comment's really funny though, because
undermining him.
Is there anything I can help you
Yeah.
with? And then he like looks at Drusilla. He's like, anything I'm not currently doing. And Spike's like, oh,
yeah. And then Drusilla's over there like, oh, you guys fighting over me. 'Cause poor Spike. And then she has one of her visions and talks about how an old friend is seeking help to destroy their happy home. So happy, eating puppies.
sunshine.
Yeah, Miss Sunshine. And then we cut to this magic shop, and it is Miss Calendar. And she talks to the magic shop owner, is looking for a orb of Thessala, and we find out that she's trying to bring back his soul.
I blame Angelus. I blame Xander.
I blame everything on
there
him.
it is.
Yeah,
Honestly,
join the
Xander's,
Xander hate train.
Xander's creepier than Angelus in this episode.
Yes.
By far.
That's a bit of a
All
stretch,
Angelus
but
wants to
okay.
do is eat you or kill you. All Xander wants to do, or Xander wants to do a lot of things. So. He wants to demean you. He wants to make jokes at you.
Xander honestly
Wants to
would
have
be
sex with you while demeaning you.
honestly Xander would be happy with anything at this point.
Yeah, that's true. Buffy could literally like kiss him on the forehead and he'd be like on cloud 9.
Yeah, it's true.
I'd boost my ego just like dating him for like a second. I'd just be like, oh hey, you look handsome.
You know
He'd
what
be
I would
like,
do?
"All right, let's go
I
now."
would I would date him and then break his heart just to humble him. Like,
Wow,
ha, loser.
Leah.
Obviously, I wouldn't actually do that, but like,
Okay, so we're in the magic shop. And I thought it was really interesting because like Jenny comes in and the guy's like, hello, would you like to buy this orb or whatever? And then she's like, oh, I'm here for this. And he's like, oh, okay. And then he closes the blinds and he's like, sorry, the tourist asked for like the
love potions because Valentine's Day is coming around the corner.
Yeah, you could tell that she's an actual magic user. And so he's like, okay, well then, no one must know we actually sell magic here.
What kills me is his voice and
his voice completely drops an octave. He's like,
the
oh,
terminology
okay.
he uses, like he comes in and he's like, would you like to buy something? And he's like, oh, okay, what do you want? Like,
So yeah, and then we find out that the text to actually use this orb has been lost, and that Jenny is creating a computer program to help translate it, which I thought was a really cool use of her abilities, like tying it into the show. It was clever.
yeah, really trying to give her redemption. We're like, only she can do this.
Yeah, right. No, but like she's
Which
using
is
her
fair.
skill
Like,
set.
and I'm all for it. But
Well, it kind of shows why Giles likes her too. Like she's smart. She has the same interests as him. She holds her own.
yeah, absolutely. She's a strong, independent woman, just not against a vampire.
no,
If vampires existed, I would like totally carry like stakes with me or would do
Right.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the whole point like of the Buffyverse is that people kind of like ignore that they are alive. That's why they have the whole like they dust, and so they can like trick their brains, be like, oh, it was like the trick of the lighting, or like whatever. Like there's no real vampires
and when there's no
there.
blood and no body, like
Mhm.
it's easy to just be like, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, but you know it exists. You're Jenny. Like
You're Jenny.
Jenny's
Well, yeah,
different though.
that's
She
true.
grew up like knowing that. Yeah.
right, exactly.
So then, Xander, Willow, and Buffy are at school.
Xander's outfit is horrendous. Like,
Oh, the
he's
red with the
wearing
green.
this.
Ooh.
He looks like a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
No, he looks like a Christmas pajama that your grandma would give you.
Pajama.
Sometimes
Hey.
we forget how bad 90s fashion
But
is.
Xander's is
Okay,
so
I
bad.
actually
Fashion
like
is
90s fashion. Even a lot of guys, even though I hate Xander, a lot of the times the things he wears, I don't actually hate. I think they're fine. I
He's
like
wearing
them.
plaid pants.
No, it's just this outfit that's
with a
horrible.
bright red sweater
In
with a
all
popped
honesty,
green collar.
I think
No,
that
the
I kind
2000s
of
are
block
worse
out
for men.
Xander in this scene because he annoyed me.
How
so
could
much,
you?
I don't
He
remember
looks
what
like a
was
stop
wearing.
sign, a giant stop sign. Oh my gosh. It hurts my eyes every time.
We'll make sure to post a picture of what he's wearing on the Buffy Instagram.
It's awful. Anyway, go ahead.
I did notice that Buffy wears all black and white this episode, which is very, kind of telling of what her character is like. And Angelus wears all black, but Buffy's very much of a, character that's stuck between innocence and evil in this character. So her all black and white wardrobe kind of speaks to that.
Yeah. And it's also, I think it's speaking to where her head's at right now, because Buffy is a very clothing expressive person, and we've seen that. I mean, I always am talking about her outfits and Willow's and how they're very meaningful, and I think that that's a really good point, David, is just the fact that like she's wearing that. Not, I think it also may be what you're speaking about, maybe showing her innocence and kind of the black and white of that, but I think it's also just showing the fact that like she doesn't really feel like wearing super cute and frilly outfits. Like she's just kind of like, I'm gonna throw on whatever I have. I don't feel like making a statement right now, because she's just so upset.
She's got a lot going on. Yeah. So as they're talking, Willow sees Miss Calendar and she's like, oh darn, she's here. 5 hours of lesson planning down the train as a sub. I love that Willow just like goes the extra mile.
But like 5 hours for like her gonna be late for like maybe 20 or 30 minutes. I just be like, okay, silent read.
Willow's an over-preparer.
It's literally a computer class. I'd be like, okay,
Hangman,
play on games until she comes.
Write an email. Practice writing your emails. Yeah, and I think that this speaks a lot to Buffy. We talked about this before, that she chooses to go up to Jenny and says, keep up the guilt, but he misses you, and I don't want anyone to be lonely. And I think that also speaks to Buffy's mindset. She knows how she feels being lonely. She doesn't want that for Giles, which is just really sweet. We've talked about it before on the show, but there is a theory out there. I probably am mentioning this every episode, but there's a theory out there that every character in the Buffyverse is really meant to be some sort of a foil to Buffy's own character, in the sense of like, you have like you had Kendra. Kendra is another Slayer, obviously, so she's a very like obvious example. But then you have, Giles. Giles has to often refer to his role as a watcher as not something he wanted. And so you have each of these characters, sometimes even the villains, that come on there and they experience some of the same things of Buffy that Buffy does, but they respond in a way that's different. And so kind of showing how Buffy could react, or what would happen if she did react that way. So I think in this example, like Buffy's relating to Giles in his loneliness. And I just think that's especially poignant, knowing what happens at the end of the episode. So Jazz is all like, hey guys, I found the ritual now to keep Angelus out of your house. It's just, some moss herbs, hanging crosses, sprinkling of some holy water. And Cordelia's like, oh, my car has leather in it. Like, how am I going to sprinkle holy water?
Oh, thank goodness. I had to actually convince my grandma to switch cars with me last night.
Her poor grandma's like,
Well, she didn't tell her. She probably was just like, hey, Grandma, can we switch? Because my car is bad on oil or something.
Grandma's over there getting chowed down by a vampire. But
She's like, get it like an oil tank. She's like, that's freaking
She's like cussing her out on the way.
advantage of me.
She's like, no Christmas money for you this year.
Oh my gosh.
It's just Cordelia's grandma sounds cool.
I'd be friends with her. I'd ride around with her.
So then they're like going around to everybody's houses and nailing up crosses on the walls and like sprinkling holy water and stuff.
And then we see another envelope. I'd be nervous to open it. I'd be like, someone else open it. Tell me what it is.
Yeah. And the fact that it's Joyce, it's just Buffy's nightmare. That's our nightmare. That's what we're all just like really afraid of and dreading. And it just makes it feel that much more real too. Yeah. It's like, oh man, like Buffy's family. This is all Buffy's lives kind of colliding, and she's kind of out of control. Or it's all out of her control and how her secrets get revealed.
If we're analyzing Angelus's art, I think this one he really outdid himself with Joyce.
Like spot on.
10 out of
like,
10.
wow.
He got the hair.
I don't know why actual Angel didn't ever like draw something for Buffy if he was that good.
Seriously, Angel holding out on us, man.
Well, artists have to be tortured, so soulless
That's
Angelus
true.
has to be art talent.
And in all honesty, like most like poets and like artists and stuff are like kind of crappy people. So like maybe you have
Gotta
to
have
be like
some
a crappy
stories.
person.
Look at Hitler.
He's just calling out the entire audience.
All like the dead poets.
But
and,
like
painters.
Hitler was really into art, and he
Oh
can make it
my
into.
God.
I'm
Bringing
just
Hitler
saying.
into this.
Yeah.
He didn't.
Why was that the first thing that came to your
Don't
mind?
mention my
Hitler
boyfriend
failed out of
going
art
to
school
this.
anyway. He wasn't that great of an
That's
artist.
why he became
Yeah.
Hitler.
Oh my God.
Nice. Man, guys,
Goodness
the arts are
gracious.
important. Give more funding to the arts.
We're not using
Save
it.
the arts.
We're not using Hitler as an example for anything ever.
Maybe Xander.
He's oh my gosh! No.
Wow.
Narcissism is best. Just kidding.
Anyway, moving on before we go further down the rabbit hole.
Yeah,
All right.
goodness.
So Joyce is driving home, and as she pulls up, Angelus is there. And this scares me a lot. It
Oh,
scares
yeah.
me every time I see it because
Good for Joyce, though.
yeah, you could tell she's scared, but the way she stands up to him, I'm
Mhm.
like, man, like you can tell like she's Buffy's mom.
But it's also like the way that she is handling herself. Like even though you can tell she's scared, like the first thing on her mind is I want to protect Buffy.
Yeah.
And so like even when he's like kind of being very physically kind of aggressive with her, you can tell she's very much like, are you threatening my daughter? Like that's the first thing
Yeah.
that she's worried about
Yeah.
is like, are you going to harm Buffy? Even though he's next to her right now and has no connection to Buffy at this moment. Like
yeah.
the first thing she's thinking about is Buffy, which is another
Mhm.
reason why she's a good parent.
Yeah.
The things he says, I'm like, ooh, tell
Yeah.
her I need her. Like, oh, no, thank you. I'm
Yeah,
not
I
gonna
haven't
tell her
been
anything,
able to
actually.
stop thinking about her ever since the night that and then he like pauses for dramatic effect because
Mhm.
Angelus is incredibly dramatic, and then he talks about the night that they made love.
calculated.
He says made love.
To
He
make
doesn't
it sound sweet.
yeah,
Yep,
right. But
innocent. Like he's the victim.
right. But also like it's just twisting what they actually had. Like they did actually make love, but this is Angelus talking about it.
Mhm.
And then he just seems so unhinged in how he drops things and is like almost kind of towering over her. Yeah, and we're like, Joyce, get inside. And then we find out that he can't get inside anymore.
Yeah, Buffy says, sorry, Angel, I changed the locks.
Which you
Such
gotta
a power
wonder
move.
what
Yeah.
Joyce is thinking about at this point. She's like, what the heck is going on?
I know.
She's like,
That's
you can
what
just
I thought,
walk
'cause,
in.
Like, yeah, like Joyce walks in and then like Willow comes down the stairs like blah 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 blah. blah. I'm like,
Yeah,
where
exactly
is-
like that.
Like where is Joyce? Like is she just like in the kitchen like cooking
She's
dinner?
like
Like,
drinking her
after-
tea.
Buffy's like, nobody apologize. Like, don't mind me, mom.
Just he's really superstitious.
Dude, the compelling thing from Vampire Diaries would be really helpful in scenarios like this.
Seriously.
Have mom forget everything that just happened.
Literally.
Boogly boogly.
Boogly boogly. They actually cut out a little bit in the script. There was a moment where Buffy's like trying to explain to Joyce, like, oh, like it's no big deal. And Joyce gives her a look and is like, all right, let's go talk upstairs. But they kind of cut that out. So then back at the school, Jenny's working really hard trying to translate this. And Jenny says, hey, so Buffy said that you miss me. And he's like, she's a meddlesome girl. And they
Theme song
Agree.
comes on for the second time. Just wanna
yeah, and they agree to go meet up later. And
The scene kills me because it's very sweet, and you can see how much this topic of kind of reconciling with Jenny has been so on Giles' mind. It's been weighing him down. Like he's been kind of out of in a funky mood the past couple episodes, and like you can just see like how happy he is to like have a reconciled relationship with her, and they're gonna be moving forward. And like,
well, it's almost like Buffy, he could tell Buffy gave the stamp of approval of like,
Yeah.
yes, you can move forward. But
Yep.
then Jenny is also really excited because she's like, man, I think I found the cure, but she doesn't want to tell him yet because she doesn't want to get his hopes up. And you're just like, no, tell him. So then we like have somebody that knows about this.
it's just
and-
like it breaks my heart because like they both just look so genuinely happy
Yeah.
and excited for their future.
know. Well, you see him hesitate too. He's like, you can come to my house. And you're like,
Yeah.
no, don't come to the house.
Stay at your house, please.
Yeah, leave.
Go to Buffy's house. It's safe now.
I just like, I don't know. If I were Jenny, I would take every precaution, even though I'm working on like restoring his soul, like I would stay until it was like almost dark and then I'd leave.
But the thing is
school.
like, again, no one is taking him seriously.
Yeah.
Like, and
Yep.
that's the real crux of this, is that like, if Giles had been taking him seriously, he would have waited until the sun went down, walked Jenny to his
That is
house,
true. Yeah.
and then they would have had the date. But no one was taking him seriously, and no one was thinking that Jenny was in peril.
That's
Yeah.
true.
And I think everyone just, they're underestimating Angelus, but then they're also this false sense of security of like, oh, we're in the school and we've
Also,
seen
just,
Angel in
like,
all these places.
If I were Giles, like remember the first in any sense, he was in the school.
He had grabbed Willow.
He
I was
grabbed
just
Willow,
thinking about
yeah,
that.
and then shoved Buffy against the door. Like he was literally in the school. If I were Giles,
Yeah.
I'd be like, okay, I'll either wait with you or like leave when the sun is going down.
Yeah.
And Giles didn't even angel-proof his home.
Yeah. Well, in this episode, he was literally going to swing back to Buffy's house to grab the book so he could go do it. He tells Willow, oh, I should probably do my apartment this evening. Yeah. Like yesterday, you know? But yeah, it's too little, too late. So then back in the shop, Drusilla and the puppy show up. Miss Sunshine, her new mascot. And they want to know what Jenny wanted from the shopkeeper. R.I.P. shopkeeper. I'm assuming you died.
Yeah, seriously.
And then, which Drusilla, it's interesting how Drusilla started out, like her wardrobe is shifted over the episodes.
She's like bright red / black.
And she started out with white, where she was just very frail.
Well, she also got her power back now,
Right.
so she's able to, like, she's dressing more powerful. She's dressing like a powerful woman.
Yeah, and Spike's over there in his wheelchair.
Yeah, all
Screw you, Angelus. So Jenny figures out the translation, pulls out a floppy disk. You can tell she's figured out the cure. And as she's printing it out, it's so terrifying because you see Angelus just kind of sitting there chilling in the corner. And yeah, we all know what
that
happens.
shot, the reveal of Angelus was chilling.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you knew as soon as you saw that, you're like, oh, she's dead. She's dead. Like, there's just no way.
I don't know. I remember watching this for the first time years ago before I knew, like, any spoilers.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing him there and being like, wow, this is terrifying. But I really didn't think she was going to die. I really thought that there would be, like, Buffy would show up at the last second or she would get away somehow. Because that's how the show had been up until this moment, was like, the good guys won and the bad guys didn't. And so, like, this was like the first real moment where they had a severe loss.
I thought the same until the really long running chasing scene.
Yeah.
Because it's like every time someone's been like in grave danger, it's never lasted longer than like a minute. But this was like there was layers to it. It was like he threw against the doorknob, which made it unlock. She ran out. She like pushed the cart against him. He fell. She ran upstairs. He disappeared. Like there's just so much that happens where I was like, oh, I think this is it.
And I think that that's something that I actually really liked about this chase scene, is that, like, it's actually a pretty long scene when you think about it. And I love the fact that they changed the lighting, they changed the scenery, the music changed. Like, everything about it was, like, constantly moving. And you saw them, like, going through just different places and stuff. So it made the scene feel, one, more realistic, but also, two, it made it feel like it was going by very fast, even though it was a long scene.
There was a sign behind Jenny when she backs up to the door that normally reads, remember to back up your files, which I think is hysterical. But Angelus had tweaked it and it says, remember to hack up your files.
Oh, no.
Which I know, right? Very serial killer-esque. But yeah, okay. And also, I just want to say, you can tell that Angelus is not up to date on all the trends and all how computers work, because he like burns the computer and is all like, okay, well, that's it. Never going to see that again. Like, he was there when she pulled out the floppy disk, you know?
That's true.
So, you know, if he was somebody that was actually up to date on all that stuff, I feel like he would have looked for it.
But I think that's realistic, because, like,
oh, it totally is.
Like, he's living in a cave by himself. I don't think he's ever sent an email in his life. Like,
no, right.
And I know I mentioned like earlier that like I was going to point out like a scene that like really like kind of resonated with me when it comes to lighting. And so when he knocks over the computer, it catches on fire, which is like when you think of passion, it's like burning fire, like burning like passion. And so as he bends over and he puts his hands over to kind of like warm his hands in a kind of psychopathic way, it like, so his face kind of like turns down to look at his hands, and as soon as he looks up, he's in vamp face.
Yeah.
Which is such a cool, like, I don't know, it's such a cool like transition because it's like he looks at it and then now he has like his vamp face.
Yeah. Well, and it's also even more chilling when you think about the fact that vampires can only die by a few things.
Right. And fire's one of them.
Fire.
Right.
Fire is probably the quickest way to kill them. Actually, well, probably staking is, but then like probably fire. And so the fact that he has no fear in just like sitting there and just kind of being like, ooh, fire.
He's a psychopath. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's showing that he doesn't have fear over death because he views it as something he can control.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So then we have this chase scene, and then we have what we talked about earlier with the light. It was incredibly creepy because you see Miss Calendar running and he's just like his face. It's dark light with his vamp face. And then also you have it's incredibly dark. And then she finally gets to that one door, breaks it open, and it's very bright. And you're almost have this sense of, oh, okay, she finally found a door that's open. Yeah. Maybe she's going to escape.
Right.
She even goes up those stairs. Angel's missing. You don't know where he is. And you're thinking, hey, she made it. And then she's plunged into darkness again and he appears.
Well, and I think that what's really cool about this is we've talked about the contrast between gold and blue in the show and how blue a lot of times represents like soulless and evil, and like gold is kind of like the redeeming
warm
light.
And
And I love the fact that when he kills her, it's literally like their figures lit up by the moon, and they're black, and all that you see behind them is just blue.
Yeah, it was it was a very intimate pose that they were in too, where he's holding her, and when he snaps her neck, he kind of like raises his hands up, and the look on his face is very ecstatic, like ecstasy almost.
Yeah, almost like he gets off on it.
Exactly.
Yep.
Oh, well, obviously, yes.
Yeah.
I think any psychopath, the only reason why they do it is because they enjoy it.
Yeah.
But like this scene, like I kind of slightly mentioned it earlier, but I kind of like wanted to wait until we actually saw it happen. But like, I just think it's really chilling that he just doesn't drink her. He just like snaps her neck because he wants to use the body for how innocent it'll look if it's not like bloody.
Yeah, the fact that he snaps her neck just shows, and didn't drink from her, just shows that he was in it for the pleasure of it, for the thrill of the chase, for the thrill of seeing Buffy's face when she found out. It was not because he was hungry, which is just so twisted. When Joss wrote this episode, when he rewrote the episode or whatever.
When he edited it.
Yeah, he edited it. There was a lot of debate on how Jenny should die because they talked about having her being drunk from. And Joss was very much like, no, she needs to have her neck snapped or something to show like what we just talked about, that Angel wasn't doing it because he was hungry. But then there was also another debate about whether he should do it in his angel face or Angelus face, or his vampire face. And Joss felt very strongly it should be his vampire face because they're trying to make the distinction between Angelus and Angel. But also he's like, I need everyone to still like Angel after this. And I need them to hope that he's going to have some sort of redemption.
There needs to be some tension so that Buffy doesn't kill Angel, because it's very real emotion just to be like, well, just kill him, but you want, like, you still need to be like, oh, but it's Angel there. Like, you don't want to just kill Angel.
Yeah. And I think that I love the fact that she didn't die from like a vampire sucking her blood, because it's more realistic. Like, you can die from your neck snapping, but you can't really die from a vampire, sucking your blood out.
Yeah.
And so I like that her death is a realistic way to die because it makes the death itself feel more realistic.
Yeah. I don't remember. Tabby and Leah, did you guys ever take Latin in high school?
No, but Mom gave us Latin lessons.
No,
so
it wasn't
I'm
Mom.
fluent.
It was from our co-op.
Oh my gosh.
Because I know David and I took Latin. And first of all, I have to say, I cringe every time I hear Angel saying his Latin, because he's all like, formatia transicere. And I'm like, well, none of that is the right way to say that. But even funnier is that's actually like not how you say that phrase in Latin. So in the English translation, they have it wrong. But when it's been dubbed over in Italian, they have the actual phrase in there, which I thought was kind of hilarious. But yeah, every time he says that, I'm like, okay, no, just stop.
So we pan back over to Buffy's house, and Giles comes in because he needs to get the book back from Willow that she borrowed from Miss Calendar.
Yeah, well, he wants to do the spell in his house now that they've done it for Willow's and Buffy's, because it would look weird if he's in these girls' rooms doing the spell.
Right.
So yeah, but he's like, oh yeah, I need to do my apartment tonight. And we're all like,
too late.
The scene between them, before we get to the really heavy stuff, the scene between them actually really kills me.
Yeah.
Because, like, he's like, oh, like, maybe I should, talk to Buffy's mom about, them having, like, sex and all this stuff. And Will was like, yeah, that's a good idea. What would you say? And they both kind of stand there, and he's like, I think I would go. She's like, yeah, that'd be for the best.
Well, before that, she's like not sure if he knows about sex. And he's literally on his way home to go have sex.
Yeah.
Like,
But I think it's funny because in his brain, okay, maybe I just I really understand Giles' nonverbal language because my dad does the exact same thing.
yeah, such a
Where he
5.
doesn't say anything, but he just sits there and he's just like, huh?
All right, so then we have this really touching moment between Buffy and Joyce. And I feel like this is just so real. The way that Joyce responds is very much as a mom should respond when she says, he's too old, Buffy. And, and Buffy's all like, well, he's superstitious. That's why we use the herbs and other things like that. And Joyce is just like, I'm disappointed in you. I thought you'd use more judgment. And Buffy's like, I made a mistake. And Buffy feels the weight. And Joyce hasn't seen that. But Joyce is like, I need to tell you these things because I'm your mom. And that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
And Joyce hasn't been around to see her feeling the weight and effects at this point.
And I think that you can tell that even though Joyce is upset and mad, like she still wants to cover the basics of being like, were you being safe? Are you okay now? Like, and so it's like, even though, yes, she's angry and, acting out, like she still is caring for Buffy. And I think she's a good mom for that.
Yeah. I love how it ends. She's like, whew, so that was the talk, huh? And she's like, how'd it go? And she's like, I don't know. It was my first. Yeah. Yeah. Really, I mean, but just so cute that they end on a positive note. That's it. Like, ladies and gents, take note. That is how conflict is done. You come to some sort of resolution and you talk things out, you hash things out, even if they're hard, but they usually help in bringing you closer together with whoever you're talking about if done right. And I just think this is a really beautiful moment between Buffy and with Joyce.
Yeah.
So Giles gets home and we have...
and they have a happy night and then the episode ends.
Yeah.
This scene just like kills me because like
the detail.
we know what's about to happen.
Yep. Yeah.
But like he doesn't. And so it's like watching it from this perspective of just, it's just so sad. Like he walks in, Angel set up this whole thing for him, like roses, the music, like the little letter that says to go upstairs, and then it's like you see him get like happier. He fixes his hair.
Yeah.
Like
he has
he's,
the
like,
wine
walking
bottle in his hand.
Yeah, like he's like walking up the stairs and like his face just drops when he sees her.
But just like the note that says upstairs, it's just like in like nice cursive. I'm like, oh.
Yeah,
Shivers
the
down
flower
my
petals,
spine.
the candles, and even the music that's on the record player and it crescendos at that moment. I mean, the music is Puccini and it's literally two lovers singing. And the song is called "Oh Lovely Girl." It's just, I mean, Angelus is very devious. And I looked up what Anthony had to say about this particular moment. And an interviewer asked him, how did it feel to do the scene where Giles discovers Jenny Calendar's body? And he says, Joss is a genius. I thought it might be better if we didn't see Jenny killed when Angel chases her. Then we might leave it over the commercial break. Did he or didn't he? Then you would see someone entering my apartment and think it was Jenny, and then you would get to the big revelation. You're like, oh my God, she's dead. But Joss knew the audience's discomfort would be that much increased knowing that Jenny was up there waiting for him. And
it really builds tension when you know exactly what's waiting for Giles. And every little like joy that he feels is a moment of sorrow for us. Like he picks up the wine, he's like, oh, nice vintage. And we're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like, it's just terrible for us.
Yeah. And we look at all of these little things, the candles, the rose petals, like everything, the music. And if we didn't know that Jenny was already dead, we'd be like, oh,
So
like
sweet.
Jenny did this. But knowing that Angelus did all of this, you're just looking at it going, oh my
It
gosh.
corrupts it.
Yeah. So I love that he says like what he wanted and then what Joss did. And you're just like, yeah, the way that they decided to do this was really clever and very like and heartbreaking in the most agonizing
And
sense.
I think what's sad too is that it cuts from his face watching her body to him outside. And it's just like that
Yeah.
immediate transition of him being in a state of shock that to him it felt that fast.
Yeah.
Of like, he probably doesn't even remember calling the police. He probably doesn't even remember any of it because he's just
Right.
in reaction mode.
Right.
And one other thing I found interesting about that scene, Lee, is, the police captain comes up to him and says, "Oh, we need to take you in." He says, "Oh, right, procedure."
He's
And-
grounding himself.
Exactly. Giles is that type of person who falls back on procedure,
Yes.
as like his foundation. And Giles is a very like systematic person. So procedure's probably a comfort to him at that point.
Yeah. He's like, okay, something familiar, something I
Right.
know. What's the next thing you do in this? Okay, you make a phone call. Yeah, totally. Yeah, that was his lifeline. That was what
Yeah.
he was grasping
And
onto.
I think this next scene at Buffy's
Oh,
house, to me, is sadder.
Yeah.
Just because, like, both Sarah Michelle Gellar and Allison Hannigan's acting in this scene is outstanding.
Yeah, Allison
Like,
Hannigan really killed it in that scene.
Yeah,
And
they
she's not
just-
even the focal point of the
Yeah,
scene.
but they both show pain and shock in two different ways. You see Buffy, who is experiencing a different level of pain than Willow because she feels responsible. And so you see her just in shock and she just is like silently crying and just like falls to the ground. And then you see Willow who just is like upset and like can't comprehend what's going on.
I think like that's a great point, Leah, and to like kind of like piggyback on that, I viewed it similarly. Like Sarah Michelle Gellar is more of like she feels the weight of it, and then Alison Hannigan is more the innocence of it, where she's like, "What? I can't believe this is happening." It's more like hysterical, whereas Buffy's just like I don't know what to do. Like I don't how do I? She's kind of shouldering a lot of the pain, so she's kind of like. I don't know. It feels more like performative. She's trying to hold it in a little bit more, but she's really shocked.
Well, she's in that moment realizing I have to kill Angel. I should have killed Angel.
Yep.
I caused this.
Right.
Like she's just feeling the guilt of it all, but also it's interesting because this episode is very much from Angel's point of view, where he lets us see these things from his vantage point, and the fact that you don't hear everything is just, it's really terrifying. In the script they have the actual words that they were saying. So Willow and Buffy are talking about Buffy's talk with her mom, and Willow says, "So was it horrible?" And Buffy says, "It wasn't too horrible." Phone rings. She says, "Hello." Giles says, "Buffy." She says, "Giles, hey, we finished the spell." And he says, "Jenny, Miss Calendar, she's been killed." And Buffy says, "What?" And he says, "It was Angel." Then she drops the phone. And then Giles says, "Willow, Angel's killed Jenny." And then Joyce runs in and says, "Willow, my God, Buffy, what's wrong? Has something happened?" So, I mean, like, obviously not stuff that we necessarily needed to hear, but I just think it's interesting how you can kind of, you get all of that
blanks.
just from their faces. It's just really, really smart the way they decided to do that instead of having that moment of us being in there with them experiencing it.
Yeah, sometimes I'm a little critical of Joss Whedon because I feel like sometimes he overuses witty dialogue, but sometimes he has a really good notion of like when to show rather than tell. And this was definitely one of those times where, the acting and the facial expressions speak much more than any dialogue could have in this scene.
Yeah.
I think it's really telling of Angelus's character that he decided to observe Buffy's reaction and not Giles' reaction.
Ooh,
He
that's a good
went-
point.
He went to Buffy's house where he's like, I'm going to see how it affects her.
Yeah.
This is all for Buffy. This has nothing to do
Yeah.
with Giles. Like, yes, like Jenny was going to restore his soul, but like he was like, I'm going to go watch how it's affecting her because she is like my prey.
My goal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I mean, it makes a lot of sense, right? Because it looks like he was going to kill Joyce, but Buffy was at the house.
Yeah.
You wonder if they hadn't done the spell, what would have happened?
Absolutely, yeah. I think he would have
So
killed
I think
Joyce.
Jenny was his plan B. I think he was going to kill Jenny anyway, but I think Joyce was going to be his trophy. Jenny was just collateral. But he was like, okay, we're just going to combine. And that's why he's like 2 stones. He came to the school to destroy the computer and Jenny was there pretty much. So... yeah, so Cordelia, Xander show up, and Cordelia has like buttloads of crosses and garlic all inside her car. And they're worried for Giles because he's not at the station. And Buffy knows instantly. She's like, we have to check his house. Something's wrong. So at Giles' house, this shot. Okay, so this episode, there are tons of one shots all throughout the episode. You have some that were like 50 seconds long, like in the library.
Yeah.
It's a continuous shot. This one is just a beautiful shot. You go up from the bed, which has been completely stripped, going down the stairs, the trampled rose petals, the burned out candles, and then you see the record player, which is still kind of scratching, and the chest is open. Giles is pacing back and forth, like gathering things, and then he grabs that can of gasoline, puts it on top, and his face is just dead. It's cold, and he looks terrifying.
And I think he's kind of resolved himself to the fact of like, if I die, I die.
Yeah,
And I think he's okay with dying at this point,
absolutely.
as long as he just accomplishes something. He
Yeah.
avenges her in some way.
Yeah, I really think he believes it's a suicide mission. He's okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then the camera, it ends with the picture of Jenny.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, Leah, you mentioned it, is just interesting how her face is angled and her neck is angled to show that there isn't puncture wounds
Yeah.
on her neck.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a very deliberate choice on Angel's
Right.
part.
See, look, I didn't even give her the courtesy of like drinking her, you know, like,
Yeah.
or like I didn't even take sport on myself by drinking her. I just snapped her neck because I just wanted to.
It's like I didn't even care about her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, she was of no use to me.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. Ugh. So they come to the house, or Giles' house, the gang, and yeah.
This scene,
Oh, Xander, baby.
I know I bash on Xander, but oh my gosh, screw this guy in this scene.
Yeah.
The fact that this guy has the nerve to sit there when Buffy and Willow are both mourning and in pain. And I'm sure like Xander is in pain as well in some way because he's affected by this as too. So I can excuse some of it by him reacting because he's upset. But he like literally has been on Buffy since day one
Mhm.
about Angel and has been very unkind about it because he cares
He's
for
just
her.
so smug in this one. And it's like, okay, dude, this isn't about you. You're making it about yourself and your opinions.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, you may be right, but like, this is not the time to rub everybody's
That's super
nose.
tone deaf.
Nobody wanted you to be right. You shouldn't have wanted to be right. Like,
He says, let's try not to forget that I hated Angel well before everyone jumped on the bandwagon. I deserve points for not having told you so earlier.
Yep. It's just like the most immature thing to say because like the person that Buffy loved is literally gone at this point.
Yeah.
And now someone else who's probably the worst villain that they faced to this moment has every single information about her, her friends, her family, and is now ruining her life and everyone else's. She's bearing the burden of that. Willow is mourning everything because her and Miss Calendar were close. Giles is now putting himself on the line and everything like that. And the only thing Xander has to say is, I told you so.
yeah, his sentiments aren't wrong. Yes, Angelus should die. You know, he's now become a liability and he's dangerous to everyone. But the way that he goes about it and inserting himself into that is just totally inappropriate.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And I do like what he says, though, you know, these were his good weapons, the ones he breaks out when company comes to call, which, you know, is a funny because it has like double meaning and everything. But in Xander's, you know, in a small defense of Xander, you know, his friend Jesse died from a vampire. So I understand where he's coming from, but it's no excuse for being just a punk about it.
And I understand his hate for vampires. I totally do. But
Yeah.
what angers me about this episode is not his hate for Angel, it's his lack of concern for his friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's really what I hate about this episode. And I love the fact that Buffy is standing there while one of her best friends is just saying some really awful, ugly things to her. And all she has to say is like, you're right. But the one who's going to bear the brunt of this is now Giles.
Yeah. So in the warehouse, Spike is like, you idiot. You are like not thinking straight.
Yep.
And now you're going to have an incredibly, he says, brast off Slayer.
Yep.
And Angelus is like, I've got everything under control. As a Molotov cocktail just like explodes. And this is, okay, this is hilarious. What happens?
I will
Ripper.
say that like, I love seeing this side of Giles. I know he's in pain. I know it sucks. But like, it's really cool to just see him like not hold back and just be like, I don't care what happens to me. Something will happen to you.
Yeah.
And sometimes the fight scenes in Buffy can be a little slapstick, like kind of funny, and there's witty dialogue, and and they're a little like lighthearted. But the way that Giles comes in, he like throws a Molotov cocktail,
Yeah.
grabs his torch, lights it on fire, and just beats the heck out of
Well, first he
Angel.
shoots him in a very, very close to the heart. And he's like, geez, whatever happened to wooden stakes? And Giles is like, I think he says something like it's not painful enough or something. It's too quick.
And I also just like the fact that it's realistic. Like a lot of times in superhero stuff or whatever, there's always like the witty dialogue and blah, 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 and they're fighting and you're just like, why are you wasting time? Just kill him. But I like the fact that Giles is no nonsense. He knows he's at a disadvantage. And so he just goes for what he has, which is surprise.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
he's ballsy. Like went in, there's 3 vampires there, 2 of which are the most fearsome vampires known yet, and just wails on him.
But I think it was really convenient for Giles that like Spike hates Angelus because he just was like, no, Drew.
Yeah, he holds her
Let
back.
him have it. Because he's just like, well, let's go get some lunch. You know,
I
He's
am
like,
living for
"Leave."
the pettiness between Spike and
Oh,
Angelus.
absolutely.
You know, Spike's over there like, please kill him. Please kill him.
Yep. He's like, well, they'll be fine. It's like Giles was really. It was
He
really
was gonna
convenient
die.
for him because he
Yeah.
would have literally died within an instant
Yep.
if all 3 of them were
Yep.
ganged up against him.
And I love the fact that Buffy comes in, she fights for Giles, and like she's whipping Angel.
Yep.
Like she's beating him to a pulp. And I think that this is the first time Buffy is fighting Angelus and not holding back.
Yeah.
Because she, in her mind, it is now either Angel or it's not Angel, but it's either Angelus or it's Giles. And
Yeah.
she's chosen Giles.
Yeah.
And so I think that she's fighting now with the intent to kill.
Which I'll say this, I was impressed by Sarah Michelle Gellar's flexibility. She has a kick in there where her, like a front kick where her foot is like over her head. And I was like, dang, girl.
Yeah.
Like you can tell
and
that
her
she
face
really
was in
like,
it too, so you know it was
yeah,
her.
exactly. She really put a lot into it behind the scenes. You can tell like by her stance that she's doing a lot of Taekwondo and she's really like,
She has a black
she's
belt.
practicing a lot. Yeah, you can tell by the way that she moves. It's impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. She has taken kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, and she's also was an impressive figure skater too. Like she was very qualified for the role, but it makes it that much more realistic for the viewer when she's doing these stunts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the reason why they had a lot of the fight scenes like kind of shouldered around what she could do, which makes it more enjoyable to watch. We keep bringing it back to like Vampire Diaries, but like
It's not bad. We're trying not to bash it. It's just it's the closest
It's
to
just
it.
I hate that they have the vampires have like super speed because it's the easiest cop out because they'll have them
Yeah.
one.
Well, they have that in Twilight too.
Yeah,
They're,
they
like,
have
super
them in
fast.
one spot and they go vroom, and then they bring them over and then they like shove someone against the wall. I'm like, man, whatever happened to like the good old like fighting and having choreography and
Yeah.
stretching and like actually trying to do your own stunts? Because later on, Sarah Michelle Gellar does like most of her stunts as the seasons go on.
Well, I mean, she does a handful of them, but yeah, she definitely, works hard to do as much as she can, and it's still very impressive. Yeah. So, Angel's like, hey, you're going to let your watcher burn up. And he like picks her up and pushes her over the scaffolding to kind of like help her, but so he can get away.
Yeah.
Such a jerk.
But I like the fact that like you can tell like Angel needed her to be distracted in order to save himself.
Seriously.
Oh, yeah.
And I like that it kind of put a fire under his butt by being like, hey, like she can kind of kick your butt.
Yeah. And she gets him out and he says, this wasn't your fight. And he's like on the verge of tears. And she just hits him just kind of to snap him out of it.
Well, because he's shoving her away because he wants to go back in.
Yep.
But this also reminded me of Prophecy Girl.
Yep.
The other time where he was going to sacrifice himself for her.
Yep.
And she had to slap him and kind of knock him out there too. But this time, like, which is sad because the other time she left him with Jenny Calendar. But this time, like, she just kind of slaps him and she's like, I need you here.
Yeah. And for this moment in particular, so Anthony Stewart Head again was asked if he had a favorite moment. And he says, he loves the Dark Age, that episode, but he said he loved passion. He says, Joss's feeling is that you shouldn't push the emotion. The tears welling up is enough. The tear rolling down the cheek is too much. You have done the work for the audience and the audience can move on. Another example in passion, after I have assaulted Angel, I come out sobbing. It was a dry sob. I was basically a man who was just spent of his emotion at the end of his rope. They turned the sound down a little and muted it. A number of people on the set who saw them scene actually had to walk away because they said it was really embarrassing watching it, a grown man sobbing. They found the moment almost too powerful. You don't want to take the audience out of the story. You want to keep them with you. You don't want to turn them off. And he says, Joss walks a very fine line, but I have to say I take my hat off to him. He's a very sharp cookie. And I mean, like, it's true, though. He understands human emotion. And in that moment, like, you can see the emotion on his face without having to, like, hear it, you know?
Yeah. Like what Buffy says when she's, like, holding him. She's like, you can't leave me. You're going to get yourself killed.
Yeah.
I need you.
But I think it also brings him back from that reality of like, yes, Jenny Calendar was his world and he loved her and all this stuff, but like there are other people in his life that need him and that want him.
Yes.
And I think he needed to hear that.
Yeah, because in a way he was almost suicidal.
Yeah.
And this was her being like, people still need you. Hang on, keep fighting.
And that's kind of what Giles lives for. He lives to be needed, and he lives to help. And so it was probably really powerful for him right then when he was experiencing such a profound loss. Is like, oh, but people still need me. I still need to be here for somebody.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it was powerful too that it was Buffy, because Buffy's also lost someone that night too.
Absolutely.
And I think the scene was originally wrote as the whole gang was supposed to be there, and they cut them out and just had that moment between the two of them. I think it's really powerful. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. And then the theme starts playing again.
So
Yep.
sad.
Just to, rip out your heart.
And it shows him moving on with his life. He goes back and tears down the tape over his home. And then, okay, so not to pull us out of this beautiful moment, but they have Jenny Calendar's headstone, and it's very like her uncle told her that was not her real name, or she knows it's not her real name. So I'm like, okay, why would they bury her in Sunnydale when she's not from Sunnydale? And why would they put her fake name on
I think
there?
It might be partially because they're angry at
They're angry.
her. And in all honesty, I think that Giles kind of became her family.
But not only that, but Sunnydale has buried more people than they can ever count in like a weekend. Because people, like, vamps kill everyone all the time. Demons kill everyone all the time. Like, random stuff happens all the time where they're like, oh, well, let's look at the roster. What was her name? Jenny Calendar. All right, slap her inside here, and then that's it. But
Yeah, being a mortician in Sunnydale would be lit. Like, you just
Where he's like sitting up there in his,
What would be the
millionaire.
worst job though? Would be
Security
like
guard.
graveyard security.
Yep.
Oh
You'd
my
have
gosh,
one
yeah.
night shift and then you're dead.
They're like, man, we're going through these security guards. They just like leave.
wonder why.
They have to like
puncture
they,
wounds
like,
and they're not
pay you
weird.
like they're like millionaires for like a day because they have to pay them so much because no one wants to do the job.
Yeah, and I mean, it could be that they couldn't contact her family, and so they just had to bury her there. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. So Giles says, in all my years as a watcher, I've buried many people, and Jenny was the first I've loved.
Yeah, and I love what Buffy says. She says, "I'm sorry I couldn't kill him for you."
Yeah, I wasn't ready. And then we have now her voiceover to close out the episode as we show everyone moving on. You see Willow subbing, and Buffy says, I wasn't ready, but I think I finally am. I can't hold on to the past. Angel's gone, and nothing's going to bring him back.
And as soon as she says that, the disc falls
Yeah.
Yep.
and wedges in between two different desks.
Yep.
So it's like, is that going to be used later? Or is that going to be something that was like, I wish someone knew about this?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
so it's like, we'll wait and see and find out.
But it's almost heartbreaking either way. You know? Yeah, either way. Because
No
we
matter
can't
what,
go back.
pain.
Yep, exactly. So, well, that was it. That was Passion, you guys. And that was a lot. I hope you all enjoyed it. And thanks, David, for joining us. I know this is a lot and kind of a deeper episode.
A very heavy episode.
We got
I
very
had fun.
sidetracked a few times too.
Yeah.
We apologize.
It was always fun hearing somebody else's perspective, but especially a guy's, because I think this episode in particular, when it comes to relationships, it's just good to get perspective from the other side. But
Yeah, guys, they'll always kill people closest to you.
Darn.
no, thanks, guys. You can find us on Instagram at Becoming Buffy Podcast. You can also email us at becomingbuffypodcast@gmail.com. Let us know if you love Passion and what your favorite moment was. And yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
Or
But-
your least favorite moment.
Yeah, your least favorite moment, right?
I can guess a couple.
But yeah, we'll talk to you guys next time.